in board meeting. We were in a classroom setting. Former Chair Moss was there with us, and it was not great. I mean, it wasn't like controversial, but you try to keep these as minimal as possible so when they enter your dreams, it's not great. So anyway, I feel like I've been at this for a few hours with that, but let's go ahead and get started formally here. I did. I didn't dream of a haircut. I did dream of a haircut. It got too warm, and then the temperature dropped, and here I am with shaver's remorse. So, yeah, yes. So, Cole got a haircut too. We got one together. We sat in opposite chairs, looking at each other. Okay, let's call this meeting to order here. We want to first thank for joining us, Utah Highway Patrol Trooper Walker and Security Davin Booth. In case of emergency, use the 2 west boardroom doors to enter the hallway, then use the north or south doors to exit the building. With that, let's begin with a roll call, and we will begin with Member Bogus. She is here. Perfect. Member Bollinger. Here. Member Booth is excused today. Member Brinton. Here.
I'm here.
Member Booth is here. You should be hopefully resting and comfortable then, Member Booth. Thank you. You are here. Member Davis is going to be a few minutes late. Member Earl is here. Member Green here. Member Hall here. Member Kelly is here. Member Carey here. Member Lear is here. Member Longacre here. Member Reel, and Member Wood is joining us a few minutes late as well. So with that, let us go ahead and begin with opening business. 1.1 is our Pledge of Allegiance. Member Kelly, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. And with that, we will move to our board member message provided by Member Earl.
Well, I'm putting on my party glasses real quick here. So I just wanted to, just as we this year, and it seems like celebrations have been going on already for our America's birthday. So I had just a couple of thoughts today. One of those was, while the foundations of our nation were established through the Constitution and through other documents, the Declaration of Independence created principles, the question becomes, what do we do 250 years later? So I just want to share just a couple of thoughts. And I'm going to take my glasses off because I'm having trouble reading. So on Sunday, I often have a young man that comes and sits by me in the pew that I sit in, and he when he sat down, he turned to me and said, "How old are you?" And the first thing I thought was, "Oh, I got to talk to your mom and dad about manners when church is over, right?" But I looked at him. I said, "Well, I turned 56 this year," and he said, "What's it like being 56?" And I thought for a minute, and I thought, well, it's awesome. I love being 56. I love that I have 6 children. And I told him, and I love that I have 4 grandchildren, and I love that I have a brand new grandbaby. I love being 56. I love every bit of it. And then I said to him, "How old are you?" He said, 10. I said, "Well, what's it like being 10? And then he shared, "I'm earning money so I can get a dirt bike. And you got any extra jobs? My mom and dad don't pay enough." And I said, "Yeah, if you come to my house, I've got some sticker bushes that I need picked, and I'll pay you decent for that if you work hard." And then he told me about the video games that he gets to play when he's done with his schoolwork, and he told me what it was like to be 10. And anyways, I I've been thinking a lot about that, and I even thought a lot about. I mean, I kind of shared the highlights with him, right? Like these are the awesome things. But I've been thinking a lot. There's a lot of, 56. There's a lot of things that pass. There's a lot of hard things you do in life. There's a lot of things, obstacles that you overcome. Um, there's deaths. There's births. There's challenges, relationship challenges, and then those things culminate into, yeah, I like being 56. I love where I'm at. I love what I'm doing, and a contentment there. And it just made me think, what's it like being 250 years old? And when I think of that, I think, I mean, we can think of our forefathers and the things that they said and did and that kind of a thing, but it really is not. It's our responsibility. What is it like to be 250 years old? We bear a responsibility to our students, to our children, to our to those we interact with. Um, I have a poem to read and then just a little bit of more thought. But today I wanted to celebrate as a birthday party. I have a little bit of a birthday party. I have a cake over here, and we're going to light it and sing happy birthday at the very end here. And then those of you that want to, if you want cake first thing in the morning, you can have cake. I don't really care, right? Or you can, whenever throughout the day, we'll move it out into the hall here at our break time, and people can come get a piece of cake. Our public comment can take a piece of cake, whatever. But there's more to it. There's a responsibility we bear. And here's what I've got a little gift bag for you. It's got some glasses, it's got a couple of balloons, and it has two pins, 250th recognition pins. The only thing is what I'm asking you to do is not to keep these. You're to give these to someone else. You can give them to someone else in this room, but in order to get one, you have to receive it from someone else. But I want you to think of two people you want to give it to. I know that the governor and a number of other organizations are talking about service, and I think that's where I want you to, as you've got a little gift, I want you to be thinking, what could you put into a gift for America? What would you give? What would you give back? And so at the conclusion of my thoughts here, and then we'll sing happy birthday, I also put some stars in there. I have a couple of markers, and I have extra stuff, so anybody here can. I'd love you to write on the star a couple of things. One, you could write what you love about America. Two, you could write what it's like to be 250 years old, what it's like to be 250 years old right now. Well, okay. Some of us may know that. So, or just something you're grateful for. Maybe even a service. So write those. I've got a poster up here, and there's some sticker stuff back there. You can stick those on. I'd love it if we filled our stars up today with some thoughts. You have different sizes in there. So in closing, I wanted to read this is a poem by Sarah Teasdale, and it's called Faults. They came to tell me your faults to me. They came to tell your faults to me. They named them over one by one. I laughed out loud when they were done. I knew them all so well before. Oh, they were blind, too blind to see. Your faults had made me love you more. And I think sometimes those weaknesses actually is what draws closer together as we overcome obstacles. And I think our nation is doing that, has done that, and will continue to do that. So, all right. I don't know who's blowing out the candles, so if you want to blow out the candles, come on over. Did that you blowing? Who's blowing it out? Jerry, you are? Oh, I'm not singing by myself here. This is a group effort. Okay, you just wanted to. Okay. All right, you ready? All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear America. Happy birthday to you. All right, come on. Okay, blow it out for us here.
All right,
You do
Jerry,
the left,
come
I'll
on.
do the right.
Okay, come on.
Woohoo!
Thank you. When are we eating the cake?
Now.
No, I'm okay. I just didn't know.
Carol's gonna take that.
I don't want to. Okay. So just as you feel that need, go get it. Okay. Thank you, Member Earl. Let's move to agenda item 1.3. This is employee recognition. And so we will turn time over to Superintendent Hart.
Yes, is Ashley here? Ashley, come on up. There she is. Every board members and the public, I would love for you to meet Ashley Pistello. Ashley is somebody that we have all come to count on. She works in our school safety area, and she does so many things. In fact, in going over her list, it gets longer and longer and longer. She works as a prepare trainer, which many of you that are in schools know about the prepare training for school safety. And she has signed up for every available training to give because she's just one of those folks that love to get into the field, work with teachers, work with principals, students, and she was just willing to step in, and she's one of those employees, one of those folks that just say, what do we need? And just jumps right in. Same thing for the school safety conference. She was instrumental with keeping the communication moving, coordinating with the presenters, and just making the whole thing manageable. She is a former teacher, and she brings all those skills and a grounded perspective to what she does here at USBE. And it's just an absolute delight to introduce and recognize Ashley Pistello as our Employee of the Month. And as you know, she gets a coveted parking spot, a coveted water bottle, a certificate suitable for framing, and our undying appreciation and love. Thank you very much, Ashley, for everything that you do. Yeah, let's now go to the student artwork, and yay! Great, we get Jamie today. Hello, everyone.
There's a lot of buttons. Sorry. And thank you. So my name is Jamie Workman. I am the BTS Arts Specialist for the Utah State Board of Education, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today. We're giving you a very quick glimpse into what the BTS Arts classroom looked like in the Utah State University of Region. In one classroom, second grade, students are creating mandalas using pattern, symmetry, and fractions to explore both mathematics and rhythms of nature. In another fifth grade class, they are translating their experience of seeing the Teton Mountains into detailed observational drawings, combining science, field study, and artistic technique. And yet, in another sixth grade classroom, they are painting pollinators and flowers while applying language concepts like prepositions, bringing literacy and visual arts together. Across these classrooms, students are building skills, making connections across subjects, and engaging deeply in their learning. And sometimes, as we hope, the learning extends beyond the classroom. So, very quick, think of you driving through your community and a bus passes by. It's covered in vibrant flowers, butterflies, and student-created art. It immediately stands out. That is Art in Transit from Schools to Community, a project designed to bring student artwork into public spaces. And you can see over here, those are what are on the side of the Cash buses, Logan buses. The designs featured on the bus were created by students from BTS Art School, River Heights Elementary and Lakeview Elementary, ranging from first graders to fifth graders, working with their teachers and a BTS Arts visiting artist to create watercolor poppies, chalk pastel butterflies, and detailed insect studies. Through this process, students practiced observation, explored artistic technique, and connected their learning to the natural world, meeting many science standards. And their work became part of the community. And let's be honest, there's something pretty incredible about a first grader seeing their artwork traveling across town on a bus. That's not a project, that's a moment they will always remember. And when their work is shared beyond the classroom, whether it's the wall, in a gallery, or even on the side of a bus, it sends a powerful message. What students create has value. Projects like this highlight what's already happening in schools across the state. In BTS Arts, we often say arts are core, and what that looks like in practice is students actively involved in their learning, thinking deeply, applying their understanding of the ways to connect the world around you. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to highlight the integrated arts learning at the BTS Arts program, where student learning is not only happening, but also being shared and celebrated in the communities they're a part of. And sometimes the learning is hard to miss, especially if it's driving by on a bus. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Wonderful to see this art surround us every month. So we appreciate your work and efforts in that category. Let's move to agenda item 1.5. This is the education highlight. And Joanne Sorensen. Perfect.
Which glasses do I wear for this? I'm always up for a good party. Okay, I'm Joanna Sorensen. I'm the elementary social studies specialist here at USBE. Good morning, Chair Hymas, Superintendent Hart, board members. I'm here to talk to you today about the United States Senate Youth Program and introduce one of our Utah representatives this year. So the United States Senate Youth Program was established in 1962 by the U.S. Senate and has been fully funded since then by the Hearst Foundation, covering all costs, including the transportation, accommodations, meals, anything their hearts desire. The program is specifically designed to foster a deeper understanding of civic engagement and public service among promising young leaders within our educational system and provides high school juniors and seniors with an in-depth look at the federal government. Participants become eligible for the program by demonstrating leadership abilities. They hold positions in student government, civic, or educational organizations, and they are nominated by their high school principals. They come together and compete at a state level, and I'm so excited to say that this fall we're moving our state event back up to the Capitol grounds, which is an incredible venue, but the acoustics in the rotunda are not incredible. So for the last couple of years we've held it in a district office, but with the opening of the new State History Museum, there are more rooms available up there that are more conducive to our needs. So we'll be back up at the Capitol, and write this down, October 22nd is our state event, and we are always looking for more judges. Yes, please come. Superintendent Hart came and spoke this past year. It's just an incredible day. So we would love to have any or all of you come on October 22nd and help judge. Watch for emails from me to invite you officially. After the students compete at the state level, our selected Utah students travel to Washington, D.C. for a week to meet with senators and government officials, where they gain a deeper understanding of the three branches of government. They also receive a $10,000 undergraduate college scholarship to encourage continued coursework in government and history. It is my honor and privilege today to introduce one of this year's Utah Senate Youth winners who traveled to and represented our state in Washington, D.C. We have with us Jared Schneider. He is a senior at New Ames, the Northern Utah Academy for Math, bless you, Engineering and Science, where he serves as the student body secretary. Jared is currently pursuing an engineering-oriented education and is on track to receive his pre-engineering associate's degree this spring. However, his recent experiences in leadership have led him to consider an alternate path, specifically one focused on public service. As lead attorney in mock trial, Jared has developed a passion for public speaking. He'll do much better than I am. Thank you. Through his participation in Utah Boys State, he discovered a deep love for the law and his country, and as first assistant in his religious community, he has strengthened his commitment to service and now desires to serve others in a greater capacity. Jared is considering paths in political science, public administration, and the military. In his free time, I'm surprised if you have any after all of that, Jared enjoys country swing dancing and participating in local dance communities. So maybe a performance after. No, I don't want to put you on the spot. So welcome, Jared.
Can I actually use that?
Absolutely.
All right. So there are actually a few things that need updating in this. The first one is this year our class was the first one where we got an upgraded scholarship, so it's now $12,500, and they're gonna continue that from here on, I believe. Yeah, I didn't know juniors were there, so that was a shock. There were 6 juniors in my class this year. And something I really want to highlight is Utah's program for getting there is very unique. Most of the states just do an essay or a Zoom interview, but we have an actual competition where we go in person, and there are 3 events that we have to do. And I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a really good process, and it's very unique compared to all the other states. My recent experiences have definitely helped me consider an alternate path. I'm much more considering going into political science and law than I was before, especially after this experience. One of the best parts of it was just meeting all the other delegates. It was hard because we didn't have a lot of time, and what free time we had to sleep, and so we didn't use it a lot. But meeting all those people was very amazing. Does anyone have any questions about it?
Yeah, Member
Yeah.
Brinton.
I just want to know what was your favorite thing that you'll remember from your Boys State experience?
For my Boys State
Well-
experience or my Senate program?
Your Senate program, sorry.
So my Senate program experience, my favorite part was probably the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was really cool to see, and we got a short tour of it before Justice Jackson came and gave us a little speech. And so that was really amazing because there's so much symbolism in the architecture. And then the Capitol too. The Capitol Rotunda was amazing to see.
Did you get the behind the scenes tour of the Capitol? Did they kind of?
Not really, but we did get to use the senator's secret tunnel to get there.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool.
And did you how many went from Utah?
2 from Utah. Isaiah Holland was the other delegate, and he goes to Farmington.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
doing that.
Thank you. Any other questions, board members? Okay. Yeah, Member Lear.
I have to say this one more time. I guess you'll hear it twice more. But I was actually a finalist for the Utah Senate Youth in 1968.
Wow.
And I was the only girl, as you might expect in those days. And I did not even appreciate, and I was not the final selection, unfortunately, but I did not appreciate what an honor it was. And you are really, because it's such a combined opportunity for knowing about government, but also being able to, at least we had a sort of an interactive competition up at the Capitol, which I don't think I'd ever been to before. And it was amazingly impressive that all the students were so smart. And I was not a debater at the time. So anyway, it was just an amazing experience that it took me decades to appreciate. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. I can share those same sentiments. Everyone, all the other delegates had already done a lot. Sloan from Pennsylvania sued her school and won based off of their mascot. And it's like, why am I here? um, yeah, yeah, imposter syndrome was a big thing there. Um, yeah, there's just two things I'd like to say if there aren't any more questions. The first one is advertising for this is really not that great. And so I would definitely request that we try to do that a bit more. I didn't find out about the program until the day before applications were due, and nor did my school find out about the program until then. And I'm really lucky that I was able to finish it in time. And then the last thing is just member Carrie, you spoke at my boys' state last year, and I'm very grateful for that. And that speech stuck with me, and I used it at Senate Youth program here. So yeah, I'm just grateful for that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Do we need a few minutes for Member Carey's ego to deflate? Or no, that's fantastic. It's always good to hear that good things are happening out there, and it's also good to hear that board members are being heard. I mean, that's great. Thank you for speaking at events, board members. I know that Member Carey's not the only one, and thank you for hearing and listening. Jared, we appreciate your experience and sharing that experience here with us. We appreciate the work that you've been able to do and accomplish, and those even under a tight time frame. I've taken a note here. Advertising is not great. That's what I wrote down. So that's what I'm going to pass along. That's what you shared, and we'll see. Hopefully, we can get more competition out there for you. And please, I hope you feel confident knowing that you are the right person for this, and time or no time or however large the pool, you're here because of the great things and thoughts that you have. So appreciate your work and thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Johannes, can I speak to what he had to
Please.
do when they come, he mentioned that our competition in Utah is a little bit different and more rigorous than other states. When they come to the state event after they've gone through the application process, he said there are 3 different rounds they go through. This is why we need a lot of judges. So not only do they do the essay on site, they're given the prompt and that they rotate through 3 stations. So they write the essay on demand. And Robert Austin has graded that in the past, so come help me this year. And then they also do an impromptu speech. They get a random prompt, and then there's also a roundtable discussion with the judges asking prompts, and then we watch how the students interact with each other, how they answer the question, assertiveness, those types of things. So it is really all on the fly. They have to know their stuff. They're quoting the Constitution and Supreme Court rulings, and it's inspiring and an incredible day. So no imposter syndrome. You deserve to be there. So, thank you.
Thank you. With that, board members, let's move to agenda item 2. This is our public comment. And as we prepare for this, let me just read the disclaimer here. The public may sign up to share public comments at publiccomment@schools.utah.gov. The public may send written public comments to the board at board@schools.utah.gov. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes per person. A comment can express support or dissent for regulatory action. Individuals should not use public comment to complain about personnel issues or attack or defame an individual. Speakers making a highly detailed or complex comment should also consider providing a written outline of their words to the board. Please remember that children may hear your comments. Be thoughtful and professional. Keep your comments appropriate for a general audience. If you have material with explicit language or content, submit such material in writing to the board at board@schools.utah.gov. With that, we have a small handful, maybe a little more than a handful. And do we have any online? Do you know? And we have the one online. So I'm just going to go down the list here. Let's begin with Douglas Hendricks. And if you'll please come forward. Thank you, Douglas. And then next we have Ginger Casper. So Douglas, thank you for being here. I believe if you'll just push that button there, you've got it.
Okay, thank you. I recently sent you all an email, which I hope you all read, talking about the problems with Resolution 2026-01, which you passed on February the 5th. When the Utah State Board of Education officially proclaims that religious people are, quote, the only people capable of sustaining a free nation, unquote, and then goes on to say the other things that I talked about in my email, you are harming Utah students. Words matter. Students have committed suicide because people in authority told them things like what you said in your resolution. As I explained in my email, I'm a former teacher, and one of my students is dead because people told him things like you said in your resolution. As promised, I brought a picture of this student so that hopefully he won't just be a faceless name to you. I'm not alone in asking you to rescind Resolution 2026-01. About a week ago, I started circulating a petition, and in that short amount of time, 455 people have signed this petition asking you to rescind it. So it's not just me, 454 other people are also asking it. I'll give you a copy of the original, and I'll give the rest of you copies that don't have all the names on them. I also sent you all a copy of this letter in which a lawyer informed Chairman Hymas that Resolution 2026 is unconstitutional. It gives all of the reasons why. So this gives you a second reason why Resolution 2026-01 should be rescinded, even though you only should need one reason. I have one final request. This is something that was hanging in my classroom, or that I created and hung in my classroom, was there for many years. I wish I had time to explain to you the reason why I hung this in my classroom, but I don't have time. But I'd like to gift it to you and ask you that you hang it in your on the walls here, because you need to always remember that you serve all students, religious students and non-religious students.
Thank you, Douglas.
Thank you. So, if you can please.
Next, we have Ginger Casper.
Should I walk up and give this to you?
Thank you, Sybil. Ginger, please.
Oh.
It's on. Don't. Now it's off. Okay, hold on one second. That's okay. Give us 1 second here, and sorry, Sybil, you're being stretched in different directions. Okay, please go ahead.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Ginger Casper. I'm one of the teachers that you will be deciding outcomes for. I'm here today because I believe this board needs to look carefully at what the UPAC process is rewarding and what it is discouraging. I made a serious mistake, and I have owned that from the beginning. I came forward myself, admitted what I had done. I did not wait for someone else to uncover it. I came forward because this matters, or because the matter was, or I came forward, sorry, I'm gonna be all nervous and stuff, normally not. Came forward before the matter was finalized, because I believed honesty, transparency, and accountability were supposed to matter in a process like this. I'm not asking for misconduct to be excused. What I'm asking is whether the UPAC process is truly designed to correct and hold people accountable, or whether it is becoming something that teaches educators to stay quiet until they are forced to speak. If self-reporting leads to a result that feels indistinguishable from concealment, then the lesson to others is clear. Do not come forward early. Protect yourself first. That is not a healthy message for a profession that depends on trust. I am also concerned in the UPAC process, additional material can be added after an educator exercises the right to a hearing. That creates a serious fairness concern. It makes the process feel less like a search for truth and more like an escalation of harm when someone asks to be heard. And in my case, there were also parents and students directly involved in the events whose perspectives were never meaningfully investigated or given equal weight. I'm asking the board to read their letters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. Next, we have David Whitaker. The mic is on, David. You're good to go, I believe, whenever you're ready.
Thank you and good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I believe that Resolution 2026-01 tells Utah students that religious people are the only people capable of sustaining a free nation. Really. Did you hear the prayer that our nation's ostentatiously religious Secretary of War gave during a Pentagon meeting just the other day? I was absolutely horrified. And I urge you to stream it and see for yourselves how egregious it was. Do we really want to tell Utah students that our nation's nuclear arsenal can only be entrusted to someone who believes that Armageddon is a good thing? A thing that he wants to happen so that we can usher in the second coming. I believe that what Resolution 2026-01 is telling Utah students, and I'd much prefer to entrust our nuclear arsenal to those who reject such avid Christian nationalism, because secular professional morals are likely to be less dangerous, in my opinion. That your resolution crosses over the church-state separation line for several reasons, and it ought to be rescinded and reworded. Now, I know you meant well about the part that says that this board reaffirms its commitment to the Declaration of Independence, and where it says that the board wants to prepare students to sustain the principles of liberty and equality before the law, etc. If you decide to rescind the resolution and then take out the parts that promote religion over non-religion in direct violation of our nation's Constitution and that send harmful messages to students, to wit,
David, can you sum for us?
non-religious people are morally inferior to religious ones. And then issue a new resolution that contains only the good portions of 2026-01. That is a desired outcome.
Thank
But
you,
as
David.
it currently stands, the resolution should be revised. Can I have another 30 seconds?
Well, we've got a list here. We're going, but you can share your comments. You can email. The board does read its emails, I assure you.
Oh, this last part was the best part.
I'm sure it was. Can you speed it up?
I'll try to talk faster. The stability of our republic and our civilized society certainly requires that citizens govern their own conduct with reliance on moral virtue and good character instilled by institutions with none more vital than our public schools. I graduated in '68 and went to a junior UN, a model UN. And I remember the repeated exhortations of my grade school principal, Mr. Holmes. And that was to be good citizens. And what constituted good citizenship, said he? Respect for others and respect for authority. Follow the rules, be studious, and gain knowledge to prepare for successful adulthood. Good advice, which I've tried to follow these many decades and which has benefited me indeed.
David, thank you.
But he never spoke of the many decades. He never spoke about the Ten Commandments, the Bible, or any religion, believing the free practice thereof was reserved for other spheres, specifically, almost there,
He may not have,
specifically
but he did talk about following the rules.
church and family life. Please,
David,
so
please,
my last
we've got a
sentence.
list here.
May we hope that the State Board of Education will in future take greater care to hear the voices saying, please remember the secularists among you and endeavor to show more deference to our godless Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Madeline Lee.
Is it still on?
It is on, yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Madeline Lee, a graduate of Utah Dual Language Immersion and Bridge Program. I'm currently a student in my second year at the University of Utah. I'm representing former Senator Howard Stevenson, who, as we speak, is on a plane returning with a delegation of program leaders to forge international opportunities for Utah DLI students. Here, Senator Stevenson reports that he witnessed firsthand the international influence and impact of Utah's DLI program. Utah has the largest, most successful, and lowest cost dual language immersion program in the nation. The annual legislative appropriation for DLI amounts to just $180 per student, a small fraction of the cost per student of other DLI programs. We have learned that USBE staff is making significant changes to DLI, some of which could seriously undermine the quality of the program and eliminate inter-district resource sharing. As the legislative sponsor of Utah DLI, and one who has fought hard to ensure its funding at the legislature and fidelity at each stage of implementation, Senator Stevenson is requesting an opportunity for him and key DLI advocates to understand the proposed changes and provide suggestions and feedback on the effect of the changes. While there may be good reasons for some of the proposed changes, it is only reasonable those impacted by the changes, educators, parents, and students, have a chance to provide input before final decisions are made. After we have a chance to fully understand the proposed changes, we request the opportunity to share our findings with an appropriate USBE subcommittee in its May meeting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Lexi Cunningham, and I believe she's online. Lexi, go ahead.
Yes. Good morning, Chair Highness, members of the board, Superintendent Hart. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. Later this morning, you are going to be discussing under the Finance Committee report, Agenda Item 3.3, an update on LEA assurances. I'd like to say thank you. I represent USSA and USBA, and we are so thankful that you have looked at the assurances
Thank you, Lexi. Next, we have Diane Ritchie. Thank you. Diane, welcome. And will you push that button? It went off during that other comment.
And wait for the red. Got
There
it.
you go. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Diane Rickey speaking. United States citizen, resident of the state of Utah, retired public school teacher with 40 years experience teaching students a variety of subjects, including American history, civics, government. I would hope that any student in a public school civics class today could point out to the board some of the fallacies in your thinking as stated in Resolution 2026-01. I am an engaged citizen who governs my own conduct according to internal conscience and moral virtue, whose source is not religious. I am alarmed by the language in this resolution, denigrating myself and many, many other citizens, including our students, who do not need lessons in religion in public school. Resolution 2026-01 tells Utah students that non-religious people are morally inferior to religious people. I reject this assertion, and I remind you as public office holders that you do not have a right to claim this. The founding fathers were Enlightenment thinkers who had the wisdom to keep religion out of government. The Ten Commandments, Mosaic Law, and the New Testament, in fact, are not the basis for American law and public policy. It is your assertion, not the founders, that religion must be encouraged through our schools. You said it yourselves, respect the rights of conscience. Respect the rights our students have to make up their own minds about religion. Please, I urge you to rescind Resolution 2026-01, and in the future, please refrain from promoting religion being taught in public schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Julie Clough. Julie, the light is still on. Go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning. My name is Julie Clough. I'm the current Utah PTA president. I got in late to the public comments, so I didn't even know if I'd get to speak, so I don't have anything prepared. But I wanted to share a few things very quickly. We had the opportunity to attend National PTA's LegCon in March. We took 6 delegates from Utah and had a marvelous time touring our capital with some fabulous interns from Utah. The highlight was sitting in the House chambers when there was nothing in session, and just the awe of that will be something I will remember for the rest of my life. It was awesome. Another thing, we are preparing for a convention. As usual, we have lots on our plate and we are just trying to keep up and do all the things. But something special that will be notable to you, our 2026 Friend of Children Award will be going to Dr. Sydney Dixon. And we are so honored and proud to be able to give this award to her. I will be reaching out to you in the coming days. We are collecting stories and congratulation messages to give to her as part of that award. And we would love the contributions that you can share with us, including USBE staff. So please look for that email and please respond, because we would love your input to share in this honor with Dr. Dixon. The last thing I would like to say is just thank you for your time and efforts. I know that the legislative session has been busy and it has been hard, but it has been very reassuring to me as a parent and just a citizen of Utah that every time I walk in a meeting, one of you was there. You were engaged in the process and you were fighting for our children, and I appreciate that, and so do the parents of Utah. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, that concludes our public comment section. I am going to, I know that we're, agenda item 3 is our Finance Committee report and recommendations. Vice Chair Kelly is going to chair that. If it's okay, Chair Kelly, I need to take just 3 minutes. Is that okay? Board members, get some cake. Don't leave it there because Jenny has to take it home. So get some cake. Members of, I'm inviting everybody, get some cake. Get that sugar fix this morning. Let's take 3 minutes. We have a quorum, and when our chair of the report is ready, we will get started. Okay. Now that we've established a basketball team, it's a board team, Christina. You're in. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. We are on agenda item 3. This is again the Finance Committee report / recommendations, and we have Vice Chair Kelly. I'm just going to call you Chair from now on while you chair this, so I can cut my syllables in half. How's that? Go ahead, Chair. Let's get you a light here.
All right. Well, thank you. And agenda item 3, we're going to the information item at 3.1 is just a summary of our previous Finance Committee meeting and a summary of that report, and you can find that in your backup documents, and that is available to the public. But we're going to jump to agenda item 3.2, and that's R277-601, standards for school buses and operations, continuation, and the motion for the board on that was that the board continue R277-601, standards for school buses and operations.
Thank you. The motion before the board is that the board continue R277-601, standards for school buses and operations. Seeing no lights, let's go ahead and vote. And online, we have Member Booth. Are you with us?
Yes, my vote is yes.
Thank you. Member Wood?
Yes.
And Member Davis?
Yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Back to you, Chair Kelly.
Yes, in the public comments, it was mentioned, agenda, excuse me, agenda item 3.3, which is an update to the LEA annual assurances document. And the motion for the board on that is that the board approves the LEA annual assurances document.
Thank you. The motion before the board is that the, 1 second, Member Kelly.
You'll have to.
Let me just give one. Let me just ask for clarity here. There's 2 motions on here: motion and a motion to amend. And is the motion to amend? Which one came straight out of committee? Just the motion?
Yeah, it's my understanding that just that the board approves the LEA annual assurance document is what came out of committee.
I just want to ensure to the board members and the public that we're making the motion that came out of committee, and that is that the board approve the LEA annual assurances document. Okay, now I've got some lights here. I've got Member Earl. Okay, Member Carey. Member Bogus. 1 second. There you go.
So just for clarity, this was amended during committee, so it should have a draft number on that motion. We should be looking at draft 2.
That's why I was asking, if this was amended in committee, then it would be,
Chair Hymas,
yes, please.
the motion that came out of committee is the one that Cole read. It might have had a very minor change to draft two, which I think it might be what Member Bogus is referring to. But the amendment needs to be made, which is what includes all of the suggested removals in green. That
Okay.
came after committee was over throughout the last month during that work time.
Right, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. With that, Member Vargas, any other additional questions?
No, I just think the motion should be draft two.
Well, it would
And
be.
if we're amending something, because we had a draft come out of committee, which would have ultimately been draft two for the board.
What it would read then is it would read that the board approved the LEA assurances, annual assurances document as amended. And that's what I was wondering.
And that's fine.
If we made the amendment. So
Yep.
without any opposition, that will be the new motion here, is to put as amended on there. Seeing no opposition, we'll continue on. Member Carey's in the queue. Vice Chair Bollinger.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to make an amendment. I would like to amend that the board remove the assurances items identified in green from the LEA assurance document, and with a second, I'll speak to it.
We have a second. Go ahead.
Thank you. And if you look in the backups on our document, those in green, it says the assurances can be removed because it's monitored in another capacity. And so if it's already identified by a district that they're following that process, it basically becomes duplicative to have it in this document as well. So I know that the Finance Committee has been working on simplifying the process, and by removing these parts in green that are already assured in other areas, it would just help simplify for LEAs. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion is that the board remove the assurance items identified in green from the LEA annual assurance document. Keep in mind, this is an amendment to the original motion. Member Carey, is this the right time? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to speak in opposition to the amendment. And, the assurance document is really the LEA, if I could just speak again, thank you. It's really the LEA's way of saying, hey, we're doing the things that the law requires. And it puts it in a very digestible, easy format. And if you look on the last page of the assurances document, there's a section called high-risk assurances. And so I really wasn't sure what that meant because I haven't seen that before. So I reached out to CEA Davis and asked her, and she said, well, these are the items that we believe are at especially high risk in terms of the number of concerns that are coming into audit. And that they expect that based on prior experiences in 2025 to continue in 2026. And if you look at those items listed under high risk assurances, under this motion, they would be removed. And so what we're saying is, yes, as a board, we recognize that all these items are at more risk of coming before this board in terms of complaints, but let's remove it anyway. And let me just talk about the things that we would remove from the assurances document if this motion were successful. Educator conduct. An assurance from the LEAs that educators are complying with the appropriate rules, including recognition that parents are the primary educator of their children. I think that sends the wrong message at this time. We'll remove the assurance about bullying and harassment, athletics and coaching, reporting child abuse and neglect. And I understand the anticipated response will be, well, Board Member Carey, we're only doing this because we're covering it somewhere else in the rules. But this document provides us with the assurance of the leadership of that LEA that these issues are being addressed and complied with. And we recognize that these are very sensitive areas, and that's why they fall under high-risk assurances. But every one of these items would be removed, including, sorry, it's so small I can't read the numbers, but including the last one, which talks about parent accommodations, special education, policies and procedures. So I would speak in opposition to this. I don't think that this is the time for us to remove these items from the assurance document. And then, Chair, I also have a question for staff. Thank you. And I'm not sure who's best situated to answer this, but what is the penalty for non-compliance with the assurance document? So if an LEA marks yes and it's a no, or vice versa, what happens? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Grants Compliance Officer Sarah Harward. So it is part of my job to monitor these. So last year when we gathered this data, and I had some school districts that said no, my first is to follow up. Did they understand the assurance, and why did they say no? And one of the responses is I said no because we haven't updated the policy, and we will be in the next 2 months. So I said, okay, so in 2 months you will be compliant with it. And they said yes. In other situations, they didn't understand the assurance, or they needed, like the first example, they needed more time to edit some policies or procedures to come in compliance. So by probably the middle of state fiscal year 26, everybody was in compliance that had said no on the assurances.
Follow up, Member Carey.
Thank you, Chair. And I appreciate that, because to me that demonstrates just another reason why we need the assurances, is that it provides an opportunity for us to say as a board and as staff, are you doing the things that law requires you to do? If you remove these assurances, I would want to see, in the sense that, okay, it's required in other places, but this type of annual immediate check, are you doing these things? We lose that. But my question, Chair, was more along the lines of, I know we work with LEAs to get them to compliance, but if there is non-compliance, what happens, or do we generally resolve those issues through this assurance process? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, if we can't resolve it in a simple process like what I described before, then we would issue a corrective action plan, which is a more formal document with exact steps that they're going to take to become in compliance with the assurance.
Thank you. I've got a list here. I'm going to put myself, well, I was in the queue. I just didn't turn my light on. Is that fair enough? You anticipated the response, and I'm going to share it with you. The same thing that you anticipate is coming. As a member of the Reports and Requirements Task Force, as we sit together and say, what can we do to reduce some of the burden and repetitive or duplicative reporting is one of those conversations that we have. So although I do respect, it does look like, and you already uncovered, right? Like you recognize that this is going to be monitored somewhere else. It does look like this is like, why would you get rid of that? Why would you get rid of a list of things where the LEA just says, yeah, I do this, I do this, I do that, I do that. Well, again, because it falls into this duplicative process, just additional things to look at when it's going to be monitored anyway. These green items are more closely watched, and I want the public to understand that. And I think that Member Carey did a good job of saying that. Like he read some of these topics. These are topics that we would no way ignore, but we want to make sure that we're doing what we can as a board of education to say, okay, 100 more bills coming at you, more reporting requirements. I'm anticipating more assurances. I can't remember. We had this discussion. Maybe Finance Committee can help me out. We anticipated none going away. And so we have on here on this document, the red is the annual assurance required in code or rule. We said, look at the code, look at the rule. What is actually required? Yellow, staff recommended keeping the assurance because it is not monitored in another capacity. So we didn't want to say, no, this isn't important at all. Just do your thing. Staff said, no, it's important that we check up on these. And then green, of course, assurance can be removed because it is monitored. And I don't know, Sarah, off the top of your head, what it would look like if we were to put all the assurances in here, whether monitored, all those that are monitored, what this document would look like if we were to add all those things. That you turned your light on. I'm not going to have you answer that. I know I shouldn't have brought it up, but it would grow significantly, and that's what we're saying. So again, as understanding what's been said here and understanding the need to monitor and keep an eye on these things, I also understand as part of this task force that Chair Davis and I sit on, that we're just trying to do what we can to help the LEAs as well at the same time. So thank you. I've got Member Earl, Member Lear, Member Kelly, Member Carey, and Member Davis.
And I'm probably going to ask the question you just said you weren't going to ask, but is the assurance just yes or no, or are they having to, what does that work look like? That's what I'm trying to understand. If it's just yes or no, we're doing this, that's different than I have to load a whole bunch of things, I have to get verifications, and I already have to do that somewhere else.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to understand. So
are you speaking to the green
well,
ones?
I'm looking at and I'm looking at specifically the high risk ones.
Okay.
Is
Yeah,
it just
so
yes,
specific,
we do that?
yeah, so on the assurance document, they do respond yes or no. And as you see on the document, some of them do have a requirement to upload policies and procedures. None of the high risk ones have any of those requirements. And we, the Finance Committee added the high risk last year. It was a request and for us to just make those more public and upfront for our LEAs. So we don't really have a ton of data on how much it improved the occurrence of those high risk issues. So if the board wanted to leave it on there for another year or a couple more years, we can continue to gather data on how effective it is on this list.
So that's simply just a yes or no.
Sorry,
That's
yes, I apologize. Yeah.
And that's okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood. This would take, are we doing this yes
or no?
Okay. And we added those last year.
Correct.
So
Can I just share briefly that when we sit down, when my LEA sits down and looks at these, there it is. Remember, Carrie, you asked and it arrived. There's many people involved. This is not just me sitting in an office. Yes, yes, yes. I don't want to say no, so yes, right? This is getting a group of people together, finding links to different things and policy and searching through those, making sure that they are in there. This isn't just a quick checkbox of yes or no. I've got Member Lear.
Thank you. I had a question first for the chair of the committee and either vice chair or Cindy if she's online. But I was interested, at first I had to sort of process what the different colors meant, then I realized what they did. And so I was curious, what was the committee's thinking in choosing those that you put in green to be removed, or that they could be removed? This doesn't mean that they're not going to be monitored, but they wouldn't be in this document. So if either Chair Davis or Vice Chair Kelly could help me hear the committee's thinking. I didn't listen to the meeting. Sorry about that.
I know Cindy's on and she even has a hand up. I don't know if it's for this.
It might get to her comment. So
Chair Davis, go
I'd
ahead.
be happy to respond. We initially were looking at the assurance document, and one of our committee members, in fact, I think it was Chair Hymas, once we had approved the assurance document, had said, you know, we're trying to streamline this document and find things to remove rather than add if they are duplicative. And so that's when we had asked the staff over this last month to say, is anything on this assurance document is only meant to be the things that are not monitored better elsewhere. So it's a quick yes or no check. And it's only for those things that we really don't have time to go out and monitor or don't require more extensive reporting. And so our staff went through and found the things that require more extensive reporting than a check and suggested that those be taken, or that legislation changed in the past session, and that those be taken from this document to those that are monitored more thoroughly.
Thank you. I have a follow-up to that. if
Follow
that's-
up, go ahead.
I seconded this motion and hadn't really thought of it until Vice Chair Bollinger made it. But I feel like this, some of these are the equivalent of saying to our adult education partners, we really, really, really mean it. We really mean that you should do this. And I find that a very sort of condescending way to work with our education partners. We can't, I have learned through doing this for some time, we can't bully or threaten our partners into doing things the way that the board thinks is the way to do it. We have to bring them along, convince them, work with them, and include them in our decision making. And I appreciated the comment that Lexi Cunningham made this morning to say that the USBA had reviewed these and really supported our looking at this document carefully. So I think that seconds the proposition that the LEAs believe in this process, will do it honorably, and that if they agree with us that things can be removed, I think we should respect that and also respect their partnership in a very equal way. So thank you.
Thank you. Member Kelly.
Yeah, one of the things that as a classroom teacher, you hear about a lot of red tape, and that red tape oftentimes stems from the state level, and the state this, the state that. I know at the district level, there's a lot of red tape that comes from the district level as well. But I have looked through, and I'm confident that the 22 items that are listed in green are things that are being reported in other ways, and so I'm confident that we're not going to be eliminating accountability for these 22 assurances, but I think eliminating red tape and eliminating things that just is an added burden to our LEAs is, I think, what's important. I also wanted to mention the comment of Lexi Cunningham, and they're looking at these documents, and if indeed we feel like there's by eliminating these 22 items that there's going to be less accountability for the matters that Board Member Carey mentioned, I think it might be appropriate to send it back to committee. I'm not making that motion right now, but to take a second look to make sure that the assurances that we're recommending be removed are being reported in another capacity that the board feels comfortable with.
Member Carey.
Thank you, Chair. If I could we just go to item number 91, please, on the assurances document? And is it possible just to make that a little bit bigger? Uh, 91. And so what we've been told is that someone here at USBE is going to monitor this, perhaps in our internal controls department that we don't have, will be monitoring this. And so I would just like to know who is going to be monitoring that a student's parent is the primary person responsible for the education of the student, and the state is a secondary role to the parent. Which department, which division, which person, if this is removed from our assurance document, is responsible for reporting back to this board on an annual basis that our LEAs are complying with provision 1A. And Chair, I don't know who that should be directed to, but I want to know in a year who's going to come back to this body and say, just like these assurance documents do for us now, LEAs understand and they recognize that a parent is the primary person. Because if we get rid of this assurance, I want the assurance that someone's going to come before us every year and tell this body, don't worry, all the LEAs understand this provision.
Sarah.
Thank you. Yeah, this one and all of the high risk assurances are gathered by the internal audit department. Debbie Davis, unfortunately, is not here to speak more to it, but that is her and her team that cover this section.
So thank you, Chair.
Oh, we have a hand from Scott. Do you want to add more to that, or let me see.
Deputy Superintendent of Operations, Scott Jones. So in addition, Sarah's spot on. I mean, the crux or the main piece of it is that they make the assurance, and then either through auditing or monitoring practices or referrals or that piece. But in the finance, staying in my lane, in the finance domain, there's other aspects that we look for. So as you know, when a parent chooses, just as an example, when a parent chooses to homeschool their student, they're required to provide an affidavit that says, this is my choice, right? This is what I want to do. So we look for those aspects too when we get reports on, the parent is choosing this, or by way of our contractual oversight of the Utah Fits All program and the choice, we look for the parent making that choice to move it. And we see that through the processes that are done with those two just basic examples of that when we do monitoring visits on particular programs or emphasis too. So it's not just the audit piece, which is the heavier emphasis on this, to ensure that when they said yes to this, that, those things are happening. But the evidence that we gather through other means, through funding, formulas, those types of things in the application thereof, we do. And if indeed it was, the district moved them to a program and the parent didn't know about it, which we've had situations like that where a parent, especially when UFA stood up, where the parent would say, well, I didn't know my student was enrolled in this particular charter school. Well, the parent had forgot that they wanted their student assessed in 3rd grade. And so in order to do that, they put them in their student, information system. So there's a lot of controls and processes that take place even outside of the main evaluation of whether or not the assurance is true, yes, no, other than the audit. I just wanted to add that. Hopefully it benefits or is a value add.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Member Carey, back to you for follow-up.
Thank you. So I appreciate both those responses, but I think there's a lot of ambiguity in there. And here we have a crystal clear standard that an LEA has to recognize and attest to. They recognize a student's parent as the primary person responsible. From what I heard is that, well, audit does this every year because we go out and we look at every LEA and we make sure that we're doing this. And I don't think there's anyone at this table that thinks that happens on an annual basis. Also, if we look at the code section, there's law listed there, but there's no rule. Now, on some of these, we have rule listed. Here we just have statute, which is another indicator to me that this board does not have a process in place, formalized in rule, that makes sure that we are out there ascertaining that a student's parent is the primary person responsible for the education of the student and that the state has a secondary and supportive role to the parent. So again, this isn't about duplicative work. I don't think that this board is doing that on an annual basis. And if we are, I put it out there for anyone to please say, I'm the one doing that. I'm the staff member assigned to making sure that every LEA knows that a student's parent is the primary person responsible for the education of the student. That if that document exists, I have never seen it in the 4 years that I've been on the board. So I don't look at this as duplicative. And then, Chair, if we may, I just have one other point I'd like to.
Is it on this? Can I respond on this parent advocate just for
Yeah,
a point
please.
of clarity here?
Yep.
I want to make sure that the board understands that and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, this particular assurance 91 is in regards to a student with an IEP or special needs student. So when it talks about a student's parent has the right to reasonable academic accommodations from the student's LEA as specific in this section. And then you'll see as it continues on in C, II, consistent with the student's IEP if the student already has an IEP, federally mandated, these types of issues. So this is one of our more closely monitored assurances. I want the people to understand that this isn't talking about just a parent who comes in and says, you know, this is my child, this is what you're going to do. I think to Member Carey's point, how would you do that, right? But when we talk about special education, parents involved in the IEP process, absolutely 100%. And our staff, I don't want to call them too rigorous, but I've been through this, and I wish they'd back off, but they won't. And there's probably a good thing that you don't, right? But I just want to make that clear. Apologies, Member Carey, back to you.
No, and I would just like to also amend the current motion.
Go ahead, you've got the floor.
If we could just call up the current motion. And I would just add to the end of that first sentence. So the current motion reads that the board remove the assurances listed in green from the assurance document. I would put with the exception of numbers, I believe it's 81 through 91, which are basically those listed under the high-risk assurances. And then I'd like to speak to that substitute motion, Chair, or amended motion.
Let's make sure we got this motion in order. I'm trying to figure if this is a substitute or an amendment to the amendment. If it's an amendment to the amendment, you would just say remove assurances listed in green, except 81 through 91, right? You're saying no, keep those on there. Is that what I'm understanding that you want? Keep 81 through 91 on the assurances document. Is that
Correct.
what I'm understanding? Okay.
Yes.
So let's make sure that we get the motion. Okay, so that's it, to add with the exception of numbers 81 through 91.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for indulging me on that. Do we have a second to this motion? We have a second. Go ahead, Member Carey.
Yeah, and again, I would just, I think this is appropriate. This board or finance committee apparently has recognized that these are high-risk assurances, right? It's labeled so in this document, meaning that there's a recognition through our audit team, through finance, that we are going to see more issues with this than other items listed in the assurance document. Because of that, I think this is the wrong time to be saying, let's take away this extra protection, let's take away this extra safeguard. If we recognize the threat is larger here, to me it seems like this is where we should be sending reinforcements. This is where we should be, I can't think of any other military analogies, but like sending more guards to the gate and in troops. Thank you. So, but what we can't do is say, hey, we recognize this to be high risk, so you know what? Let's back away with the additional protections. We recognize this is going to be a bigger threat, but let's reduce the time and effort that we're dedicating to this cause. And that's why I'm making the motion. Thank you.
Okay. I've got a couple lights. Member Davis and Member Earl, are you wanting to speak to this motion or the other one? Member Davis to this motion? Did she? Okay. So with that, Scott, you want to offer some clarity?
May? receiving input from CEA Davis. So just to clarify, Sarah's statement about, internal audit monitors for this or does the auditing piece to it, they actually, by way of the hotline, just to clarify, it's done, well, what they do is they refer, any kind of allegations of that not happening or a parent's concern or those types of things. However, what I was trying to say, in the course of other monitoring or audits or things like that, if that comes or we're made aware of that, we would address it at that point. It's not that we're, to Board Member Carey's point, I mean, even with the assurances related to school fees, it takes 3 years, a 3-year cycle to get out to all of the LEAs. We have 160 plus LEAs with more opening up. We just don't have the resources to every year monitor for compliance and that the assurance they made regarding school fees. Just as another example is that way. So Debbie just wanted me, or sorry, Chief Audit Executive Davis just wanted me to clarify that they don't plan or, you all approve their audit plan, right? And that that's not a thing, but they do take those and refer those. So, okay. So.
Okay, seeing no lights, additional lights on Member Carey's motion to amend, let me restate and then we'll go ahead and vote. The motion to amend is to add to the end of the motion with the exception of numbers 81 through 91. So the motion would then read, if this passes, that the board remove the assurances listed in green from the assurance document with the exception of numbers 81 through 91. With that understanding, members, let's go ahead and vote. Member Booth?
No.
Okay, that passes 8 in favor, 6 opposed, and 1 absent. Those opposed being Member Booth, Member Reel, Member Wood, Member Hymas, Member Lear, and Member Bollinger. With that, that brings us to our underlying motion here and our amendment, apologies. And that is that the board remove the assurances listed in green from the assurance document with the exception of numbers 81 through 91. Member Earl to this amendment. Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
Member Booth, yes.
Thank you, Member Booth. That passes 13 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 absent. That opposition coming from Member Boggess. And just for the public record, Member Davis had to step off line for a minute, but she'll be joining us again later. So, okay. Now, we are at the original motion, and that is that the board approve the LEA annual assurances document as amended. Seeing no lights, let's vote.
Member Booth, yes.
Thank you, Member Booth. That passes 12 in favor, 2 opposed, those coming from Member Carey and Member Boggess with 1 absent. Okay, back to you, Chair Kelly.
Those are the 2 action items from the Finance Committee. The remaining agenda items is 3.4, an information item, which was the 2026 legislative session tax impacts, and that is available for the public and the board documents. And then also 3.5 is an information item recognition of progress, achievements, or improvements. And that is all we have from the Finance Committee.
Okay, thank you. With that, let's move forward with.
I just wanted to also mention that I think that Board Member Carey just wants to be able to brag that he's the shortest time, and so he disrupts the Finance Committee for, you know, for that. No.
Yeah, you would have had a record, huh?
We were going.
Thanks
we
a
were,
lot,
we were so
Board Member
close.
Carey.
We were so close.
More work for me and the committee. No, we kid, of course. I actually appreciate that conversation. I know that member
sure.
Chair Kelly does as well. So
Yeah.
with that, let's move to agenda item 4.
Chair Hyman,
Yes.
can we have a break? It's mid-morning, and I know we took 3 minutes, but that's not a break.
There is a request for a mid-morning break.
About 7 minutes.
More cake over
Sorry,
there.
Chair. Turn your light off. Member Earl, a quick comment before our break.
Yeah, this has to do with finance, and I just really appreciate our staff. The presentation they gave regarding property taxes and everything, it was outstanding. I've sent it to a number of people and said, if you want to know what this is, right, and the details, the in and out. So if people haven't watched that, they really should watch it. It was well done. I thought it was great questions, and I thought it was very informative, very precise. And so I'm just telling you, thank you. Appreciate our staff on that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I echo that as well. Board members, I encourage you, public, watch it, staff members watch it, and board members, yeah, learn some things. It's some great information in there. So with that, let's take 7 minutes. Okay, thank you. Board members, welcome back. Let's go ahead and take our seats. Up next, we have agenda item 4. This is our Law and Licensing Committee report. And for that, we've got Chair Carey, who's going to direct that. Chair Carey, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. The law and licensing, this is item 4.2. The Box Elder School District, Snowville Elementary, Grouse Creek Elementary, and Park Valley Elementary waiver request. And the motion for the board is that the board approve Box Elder School District, Snowville Elementary, Grouse Creek Elementary, and Park Valley Elementary request for a waiver renewal from R277-419-4. And Chair, this motion passed out of law and licensing unanimously.
Could I ask, Chair, in the conversation regarding waivers, can we identify, can we be reminded, 419 is our rule on attendance. Can we just be reminded of what this request is for? Is that to you or Elise, either one? Chair.
Directed to AAG Beal, as she has been point on all of these matters.
You're right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, 419 is the requirement for 180 days of school. So this is just to continue for those schools, the 4-day school week.
Thank you. Okay, so the motion before the board is that the board approve Box Elder School District, Snowville Elementary, Grouse Creek Elementary, and Park Valley Elementary request for a waiver renewal from R277-419-4. Member Earl.
Yes, I got to go visit these schools in December, and specifically asking about the 4-day and the other components that they need. I mean, they only have 14 students, right? And they only go to a certain grade, and then the older students come in to Bear River. And so this is an important thing for these individuals trying to find an educator. I think you heard in the committee that, and I met the educator that was out there, and she said just that. She goes, I'm not going to do it next year because I have no social life. I'm gone. They have a house out there that the educator uses, and then she's gone all week, and then comes back on the, a couple of days during the weekend, and then is gone all week again. So anyways, these are just important waivers, and that, this is a very important thing for these educators and these kids, and families have made accommodations, and this is working well for them. So thank you.
Thank you. And any educators listening, if that is the life for you, then reach out to Box Elder. That to me sounds wonderful, but
it is grades, right? K through, and I can't remember where it ends exactly. It's something like 8th grade. So it's 14 students throughout. It's a great thing, and you really get to know those students, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So
got like an Anne of Green Gables thing happening here. Perfect. Okay. Let me restate the motion then, and we'll go ahead and vote, seeing no additional lights. And the motion is that the board approve Box Elder School District, Snowville Elementary, Grouse Creek Elementary, and Park Valley Elementary request for a waiver renewal from R277-419-4. Let's go ahead and vote.
Member Booth, yes.
Thank you, Member Booth. That passes unanimously. Back to you, Chair Carey.
Thank you, Chair. This is item 4.3, Cambridge Preparatory Academy waiver request. The motion that passed out of committee, Chair, was that the board approve Cambridge Preparatory Academy's request for a waiver from R277-552. It is my understanding, Chair, that that request has been withdrawn and that there is no motion for the board.
Thank you. Please continue.
Item 4.4, this is Lake Mountain School District Charter School Authorizers application. The motion for the board is that the board approve Lake Mountain School District's authorizer processes. This motion passed unanimously from those voting in law and licensing. Thank you.
Thank you. So the motion before the board is that the board approve Lake Mountain School District's authorizer processes. Seeing no lights, let's go ahead and vote.
Member Booth, yes.
Thank you, Member Booth. That passes 12 in favor, 2 abstentions, and 1 absent. The abstentions coming from Member Carey and Vice Chair Bollinger, who has recused herself. I don't know if you needed to. Anyway, we'll move on. Chair Carey, back to you.
Thank you. This is item 4.5, R277-102, adjudicative proceedings by amendment and continuation. And the motion for the board chair is that the board continue and approve R277-102, adjudicative proceedings, draft 1 on second and final reading. That motion did pass unanimously out of law and licensing.
Thank you. The motion before the board is that the board continue and approve R277-102, adjudicative proceedings, draft 1 on second and final reading. Seeing no lights, let's vote.
Member Booth, yes.
Thank you, Member Booth. That passes unanimously. Back to you, or with 1 absent. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. This is item 4.6, R277-309, appropriate licensing and assignment of teachers by amendment and continuation. The motion for the board is that the board continue and approve R277-309, appropriate licensing and assignment of teachers, draft 2 on second and final reading. And Chair, that motion passed unanimously by those voting in law and licensing.
Thank you. The motion is that the board continue and approve R277-309, appropriate licensing and assignment of teachers, draft 2 on second and final reading. Member Bogus.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to find this here. I apologize. If I could take us to line 51, please. I don't think this makes sense as it is written. So it says an LEA, if we go up to 48, an LEA shall only hire a teacher who, 1, holds a current educator license, or 2, submitted an application for licensure to the superintendent and is in the process of becoming fully licensed or endorsed within 60 days. But what if they reject the application? They can be in process, but if they're rejected, they still have a job. And so to me, we've got inherent conflict in the statement there, because just because it's in process does not mean that it will be approved. And I don't even know to whom I shall engage.
I'm going to first ask Chair Carey if this was, sometimes it's discussed in committee. I'm not sure if this was a point of discussion. I can't remember. And then we'll go to Superintendent Hart if she has a staff member she'd like to direct this to.
No, I don't remember this specifically being addressed. I can see in part the rationale for the question, but I also think it's addressed in the explanation provided, in that if it's not approved, it wouldn't go forward. But I certainly understand that there is a scenario that this could play out. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Superintendent?
Yeah. Come on up, Malia. Thank you.
See, that was the name I was going to say. I just didn't want to be.
Thank you. No,
I didn't want to be.
I really
like,
appreciate
put her
that.
on the spot.
Thank you.
We're trying to let Superintendent direct. She knows who works on these things, and so we want to let her call as needed. So Malia, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Malia Hyde, Executive Coordinator of Educator Licensing. So the intent of this language is to have a really clear window of when an LEA can assign a person as an educator within the Cactus or USIM system. So if somebody applies for a license and is ineligible for whichever reason that happens to be, they may continue to be employed, but at that point, they can't be employed as a licensed educator. They could be employed as a substitute teacher. They could be employed as a paraeducator, as something else. But the assignment would be removed from Cactus or USIMS. And so this gives us a really clear line of an LEA assigns somebody to be a licensed educator in Cactus USIMS, and if they have been employed longer than 60 days, then they would be non-compliant. The way the language is right now, it says if they're in process, which is very vague without a clear limitation of the endpoint. So at 60 days, the LEA would either have to ensure that the educator is licensed through something like an LEA-specific license, for example, or they would have to remove the assignment and employ them as something else other than a licensed educator.
May I follow up? So does this put, dare I say, a 60-day restriction on our agency? Because as you and I know, that sometimes these things take years to get, if you're crossing state boundaries, it can take a long time to get that license across into a new state. Utah is better than others, but does this mean that if we don't get our job done in 60 days, that all of a sudden it's just a free for all? Or can you help me through that?
Sure, and I think maybe some data would be helpful here. Currently, our out-of-state process, as long as the educator has provided the information that we need, is no more than 2.5 weeks. And so somebody who applies for a license from another state or applies for an associate license, it takes 2.5 weeks for us to license that individual at the longest. Sometimes it takes us only a couple of days if all of their paperwork is organized. So
Okay.
I don't believe that this would hold the board at some unreasonable limitation. And at that point, it would be our fault that the LEA is not compliant and not the LEA's fault. And so we wouldn't send them a letter of noncompliance, for example.
Okay, last question, is that okay? So in this situation, let's say, for example, someone does come through and they are not awarded a state license. Wouldn't they then be ineligible for an LEA specific license as well? And I'm asking because there are circumstances in which that could happen. And so I'm just very concerned about as we think through to the logical conclusion, what could play out there.
So, Chair, if I may offer an example.
Oh, sorry, I'm not the chair.
Yeah. So if somebody say is working towards demonstrating their minimum content knowledge to be a math teacher, and they haven't completed the coursework or passed an exam or finished whatever that is, then they're ineligible for an associate license because then they haven't met that level, but they would be eligible for an LEA specific license. The only reason somebody would be ineligible for a professional or associate license and also ineligible for an LEA specific is in two cases. One, the case of special education or related services, or a UPAC situation or background check. And at that point, both of those situations would require the LEA to make an employment decision.
Okay, may I ask one final question? I promise this is the last one. Would this present a situation where we are putting educators in a classroom without a completed background check?
No, that's in law that LEAs are not allowed to put any kind of educator or employee in a workplace situation without a cleared background check.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Member Brinton.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I just, listening to the committee meeting and to Dr. Height explaining the streamlined process and how this has been simplified, got me excited to test it out. And I hadn't renewed my license for over 10 years because it seemed so overwhelming and hard to do when I looked at doing it before after I let my level 2 lapse. And I'm happy to say that as of today, I am now a licensed educator again. So thank you for your work and for streamlining the process.
Thank you. I believe that Box Elder is looking at something. So, yeah, this is great. This is great. Yeah. Okay. So the motion before us then is that the board continue and approve R277-309, appropriate licensing and assignment of teachers, draft 2 on second and final reading. Let's go ahead and vote.
Member Booth, yes.
Thank you, Member Booth. Thank you, board members. That passes unanimously with one absent. Back to you, Chair Carey.
Thank you, Chair. That concludes the business from law and licensing.
Thank you. Let's move forward then on to agenda item 5, Standards and Assessment Committee Report. Chair Earl, are you ready? Okay. Over to you.
And kind of like our finance committee, at the end of our meeting, we had a number of items that I think are worth listening to. We talked about reading on grade level and kind of the progression over the years, why we made certain decisions, and then what was made this year and how that impacts different measurements. So I would encourage both the public and board members to go watch that. And the reason why we put that on there is we had some questions around the passing of law by Senator Milner this year and what the impact would be. So just, it's a good kind of informational piece. The item that we have before us, we have one item, it's our health education standards. And just a reminder that we created a process last year for something that was changed in legislation that didn't require a whole new set of standards, but may have kind of a little piece of a standard here or there, so that we didn't have to try to figure out what to do with that. So there is a process that does have a public comment piece, professionals weigh in on it, and then the board weighs in on it as well. So the motion before the committee is that the board approve, the motion before the board is that the board approve the health education standards on success sequence, and that passed unanimously from the hard work that was done there in committee.
Thank you. The motion before the board then, again, this is agenda item 5.3. The motion is that the board approve the health education standards on success sequence. Seeing no lights, let's vote. Member Booth?
Board Member Booth is yes.
Thank you. That passes 13 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 absent. The opposition coming from Member Bogus. Back to you, Chair Earl.
That is it. I should
Okay.
set a timer on that one. So
Faster, man,
thank you.
faster than audit. That's great. Okay.
I shouldn't have made it.
Okay, so let's put a pin in that, and we can have that discussion here. Let me just tee up the agenda item, and then we'll move forward. Okay. So the agenda item 6 is where we're moving to. This is a 2026 board meeting schedule, and the action here is we're talking about this year's schedule. Now, if you recall, we voted last, I think, has it been a year, Sybil? Are we voting today on next year's? Yeah, so it's been a year since we voted on this year's schedule. What, in a meeting that we had, sometimes different things come up that cause a disruption. Not necessarily a negative thing or positive, just disruption, meaning it needs to be addressed. And so within a conversation that we had amongst staff and leadership, we recognized that Excel and Ed which is typically in late November, is actually December 2nd and 3rd, which lands on our board meeting. And so we typically would say, well, that's a conference. We don't move for conferences, but we also recognize that Excel and Ed is popular amongst this board. And so we wanted to put that in front of you to say, well, I'll make the motion since I'm reading it anyway. The motion is that the board approve the amendment of the December meeting date to the 2026 meeting schedule as presented. And what that would do, the presentation, which is in backup, is the proposal is to move the December meeting date back a week. And we recognize again, you know what, I'll stop there. That's my motion.
Second.
There's a second. Thank you, Vice Chair Bollinger. It's almost like you were part of that discussion. I'm gonna start with quite frankly, I don't know if we don't have a preference. I don't think the board leadership has a preference. What we wanted to do was, because this was popular amongst board members, we wanted to put it in your hands rather than making a decision for you. So voting yes or no doesn't matter to us. It's what you want. So the proposal is to move the December board meeting to the 10th and 11th from the 3rd and 4th, so that if board members desired, they could attend Excel and Ed. So that's me speaking to it. There were additional conversations surrounding that about our December meeting, what we do in December specifically, and also committee meetings, what that looks like, pushing committee meetings, pushing staff up against a holiday, and then in January, we make some adjustments there as well because of holidays and conferences. So that's the motion. We'll turn over to lights here. I've got member Bogus. Member Earl, how did your light get on? How did you,
It's not him.
how did you get that there? Okay. I've got member Bogus, member Lear, and we'll go to that point. So member Bogus, go ahead.
Thank you. So if we're going to amend this, I would love to amend it so that we have some accuracy. For example, on January 15, we were in here at like 9 o'clock in the morning. And that was a special meeting to discuss something. I can't remember exactly what. And then on September 11, we also had an extra board meeting at, I think it was 9 to like 5. Anyhow, and I would just love for it to reflect the accuracy of all those meetings, because then this gets called into other meetings and used to compare against leave time. And I would love for those to be on there for accuracy.
I would have loved to not have those meetings, but they were, you know what I mean?
But they were duly called official meetings of the board.
In the moment,
Yes.
right? So I don't know how to calendar. Are you saying put them on this past year's calendar?
Yeah, if they were held, I think they should be on the calendar.
Well, we can add, I think meetings are added, or they can be added to the calendar. I'm just saying we can't project a year in advance, and I don't think you're asking for us to do that.
I'm not asking for that,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
I'm
so-
just asking that if it was, because then when this gets approved, then it goes into other places and spaces and gets compared against different things.
Yeah, I think we can ask Sybil to just, if we do have a special meeting, that it be added to the calendar so that we have a true reflection on what our meetings look like.
Yes.
Is that what you're
Yep.
requesting?
And then if I could
I just watched the 10 Commandments,
Mhm.
and so he says, "Let it be written, let it be done." Is that how it is?
Okay.
Sybil? Okay,
and if I could just speak against the motion.
go ahead.
I am not a super fan of moving meetings for events. I think that the staff plans on it, and as much as we can, I think moving marches is a good idea. I think a lot of things, but I think moving this one is not a great idea, specifically as it comes to December, which is a really, really big time in education, and moving this back would throw my entire month of December into a complete tailspin. And I think that's not just me. I think that extends beyond Christina. I think it would probably extend to the people in our LEAs that participate in board meetings, our staff, other things. I think it's going to have a ripple effect. So I would just speak against the motion. Thank you.
Member Lear.
Thanks. The world won't end based on what I'm going to say, but I consciously made a decision to go out of the country after the 3rd of December, after that board meeting. And I did it 2 months ago. Again, very unlike me to plan that far ahead, but I did. And again, life will go on, and some of you will be secretly, now, not even secretly, you'll be voting against this or for this amendment, because they'll say, oh, she won't be there. But I just am frustrated that when I actually looked at the calendar, made a decision, and now it's being changed. And so I will be voting no, but life will go on, the world will continue to turn. So thanks.
Thank you. Member Carey.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, and I appreciate leadership really, not doing their own personal preference, but what they thought was in the best interest of the board and staff wanting to go to this particular event. My concern is just that, it's one thing to say we should adjust our board schedule because of the legislature's schedule. But I think when we start deviating from that schedule, all of a sudden it's, well, why'd the board agree to move their meeting because of this group? And now I have a conflict with this other group, and maybe the perception is that we don't think as fondly or value that other group as much. And so I just think, we've all been in that situation where we've had to miss something important or something we've wanted to do because of the board schedule. But keeping it reliable on that first Thursday and Friday, I think, is important for not only our own schedules, but again, just to avoid that perception that we're moving our schedules to reward or punish a particular idea or group. So I'll be voting against it, but thank you.
Thank you. Member Kelly.
Yeah, Board Member Carey just mentioned the first Thursday and Friday of the month, and in December, the 9th and the 10th is the second Thursday and Friday. So why would we not be having that on the 2nd and 3rd? Was there a reason why it was on the 9th and 10th?
Yeah, that's what we're saying is there's a popular amongst board members conference that's happening, and so that's what we just wanted to put it before
Okay,
you.
so right currently it's on the 2nd, 3rd.
Yes.
The motion is to move it to the 9th and 10th.
Yes.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yep,
Yeah.
no worries. Seeing no additional lights, let me restate the motion and let's vote. The motion is that the board approve the amendment of the December meeting date to the 2026 meeting schedule as presented. And for clarity, again, the current meeting dates are December 3rd and 4th, 2026. The proposed meeting dates are December 10th and 11th of 2026. So with that, let's go ahead and vote.
Member Booth is no.
Thank you, Member Booth. That motion fails. 11 opposed, 3 in favor. Those in favor coming from Member Earl, Member Bollinger, and Member Longacre. Okay. So again, thank you, board members. We again wanted to put that before you. We recognize I do the same as you do. I count on that first Thursday and Friday. And I know many members of the public organizations. I look at our staff. I look at Royce back there. Not that we care about Royce, but we know that there's a lot who just put this in their calendar. And so I get what you're saying. I also get that these conferences are important. So I will say to this board, I'm going to encourage Superintendent Hart to still go. I think she finds value in that. She can make that choice. But I know that her position has more value in that than others. And so we can have that discussion. Remember, Superintendent Hart, I know we haven't had that discussion yet, but we know that some of these conferences are very helpful to what we do here. So we can discuss that later. With that, board members, let us continue. We're doing great here. And so our next agenda item is agenda item 7, that's lunch. That starts at noon, and it is being catered, so it is not here yet, I don't believe. And so let's move forward. Superintendent Hart, we can go to the general consent calendar, or we can do your report. Consent calendar. So board members, take a few seconds. We're going to jump to agenda item 9, the consent calendar. Look it over. If there's any items to be pulled, turn on your lights, and we will call on you. I've got a light from Member Bogus.
Yeah, I just pulled a board meeting schedule, please.
Sorry, which item is that? Is that 9 point?
I apologize, Chair.
9.4?
Yes,
Board meeting,
9.4.
there it is. Okay.
Thank you.
Seeing no additional lights, 9.4 is pulled. Are there any motions that board members would care to make? Vice Chair Wood?
Actually, can I pull the calendar off just for discussion?
The calendar, the board meeting schedule? No, she pulled the schedule.
Oh, sorry. No, that's okay.
Vice Chair Bollinger?
Thank you, Chair. I would make a motion that the board approve the remaining items of the consent agenda.
There's a motion to approve the remaining items on consent. It's been seconded. Seeing no lights, let's vote.
Board Member Booth, yes.
Thank you, Member Booth. That passes unanimously with one absent. This brings us to 9.4. Member Bogus, I'm going to go to you as you are the one who pulled this. Do you have any motions, comments? Go ahead. Wait, there it is.
Thank you, sir. My comment would be, is it appears we are not on the first Thursday and Friday of December in the 2027 schedule as well. And so I do have concerns about that, but then it also appears to be that way in September. Unless I'm reading the calendar wrong, it appears to be that way in September. And then in March, interestingly enough, I think that's the one that should be moved. And maybe I'm wrong. And even April appears to be on the second Thursday and Friday as well. So I'm just wondering if there was a reason for that or what that was so that we can do that. Because March is not after the ledge session, unless I'm reading the calendar wrong. And then we've got some others that just appear to be sporadically put on the second Thursday and Friday.
So thank you. What Sybil did was she moved it to the first full week, which is not necessarily the first Thursday, Friday. So we can adjust that. I think you bring up a good point here. So when you look at what was the December as an example, yeah, that's the first full week, whereas typically it stands on the second and third. It stands on the first Thursday, Friday. So I think you bring up a good point here. The tricky one might be October. I think October would still remain the 7th and 8th. Yes. But you're saying December, September, and April. You would like to amend those dates. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, I'd like to amend those so they're the first Thursday and Friday of the month. No. No.
The ones that are on here are the second. Yeah, and we want to move those months to the first. Yes.
Yeah.
Is that what? So I'm guiding you into a motion that you don't need help with, but
No, that's fine. I would just move that we amend April, September, and December to the first Thursday and Friday of the month, which I believe would be April 1 and 2.
Point of order, Member Brinton.
Good Friday is now, starting next year, an official state holiday. And so April, it would make sense to have it be the second week because Good Friday will be a holiday. If that's Good Friday. Maybe, I know Easter changes, so maybe it's not next year. Could we pull up the Easter schedule for 2027? Okay, so then we're okay.
So I would just move to put them all on the first Thursday and Friday of the month.
So the motion here, and it's been seconded. We'll make sure we have it correct. We don't want to do a blanket because we do have.
Well, I just said those months.
Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize.
Sorry, I'm reading the motion on the board.
Okay.
So we want to say, Elise, if it's okay, we want to say April to move the April, September,
and
December board meetings to the first Thursday and Friday.
And it seems like
Member Bogus, does that will you look at that motion and let us know if that's what you are wanting?
that is what I'm. Oh, you want the words on the board? Yes.
Okay, so the motion is to move April, September, and December board meetings to the first Thursday and Friday of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Still seconded? Member Earl, to this motion or something else? To this one? Go ahead.
And I would amend, I would put April on the 8th and 9th, and then I would also add March, the 11th and 12th, because most likely the last week of the legislature is that first week. So having the board meeting on the 11th and 12th. I got it, so I need a second, right, before I speak to it. Okay.
Well, let's make sure we
So
have
I
the
want
motion.
March
You want-
11th and 12th, April 8th and 9th, and I'll explain why in a minute.
So you want March pushed back into the week 2,
Yes.
and then April 8th and 9th, you want it to remain on week 2 as well. Okay. So this is a motion to amend. So the other two months,
Yep, the others
September and
would-
December would move. So make sure that this motion is correct to move March to the second week to move.
It's the
That's
11th,
why we
12th.
check.
Yep. Which would be the second week.
And for April to remain on the second week of
Yes.
April. Okay. And who seconded that?
I think, Emily, did you second it?
Are you second? You did? Okay, go ahead and speak
And I'll
to that.
speak to that. I just think not having board meeting the same week as the last week of the legislative session is just, it's just important. And then what happens, if you notice May, if we did the 1st and 2nd, it's 3 weeks and then we have board meeting again, and then it's 5 weeks and we have it again in May. So if we put it on the 8th and 9th, it literally gives us 4 weeks and then 4 weeks, right? We stay with a 4-week pattern versus a 3-week quick turnaround and then a longer 5-week before we have the next meeting. So I would just suggest the 8th and 9th remain the way it is.
Okay.
Unless I'm wrong.
The 9th is my dad's birthday. I don't know if you guys know this.
We're going to bring a present and we'll have
Okay.
cake.
He'll feel better. He's not even right. So one of the things that we'd like to, that Vice Chair Bollinger, you had a question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. If we may direct this question to staff, because I believe that when we were discussing the draft of this, that the legislative session was ending a week early, and then that March date was going to be a week after. But maybe if Deputy Superintendent Newey or somebody from staff could help us clarify.
Okay, that would be different then. I don't know, it said early March from what I'm seeing, but.
Yeah, as you're looking, it's fine, board members. We just want to get clarity so that we're not moving meetings just because we think. Okay. So the session, we're seeing online that the session ends on Friday, the 5th of March. So, okay. And then, Member Carey, if you're ready.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if Vice Chair Bollinger, she mentioned staff, and that was my question as well, is this new proposed schedule going to make things easier for staff in terms of preparation and the legislative schedule? Because if not, if there's not a demonstrable benefit, my preference would be let's just keep it on the first Thursday and Friday and let that new board make that determination of, well, this is what we want to do, and make those changes accordingly. I just think when we try to outthink the legislative session and guess this far out, I just think we're just going to end up revisiting this again and again. So unless it really benefits staff, then my preference would be let's keep it first Thursday and Friday. If it really will demonstrably benefit them in terms of planning, preparation, and downtime, then I would be in favor of the change. So to the extent that the superintendent could address that, thank you, Chair. Through the chair.
Thank you. Superintendent, go ahead.
From a staff perspective, we will always improvise. We'll always follow what, however, having to be here and ready to go and responsive at the same time things are going down in the legislature the way it has for the past couple of sessions, it's very uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to be here and not be able to be there and answer questions. It's also one of just plain exhaustion. The problem is, however, that delaying it a week, the session's over, that does not mean that we have answers for you yet. it's too soon. So the staff that's in this room is going to struggle having to be bifurcated in attention if you have board meeting at the same time as legislative session. There were too many things that went down, too many questions being answered, too many adjustments to legislation. And that's not even addressing the preparation for the meeting that would be also happening at the same time as the last week of the legislative session. So I'm going to speak just as the superintendent, just without, and members of staff can weigh in. I do prefer it to be separate, just simply because if I miss something or staff misses something during the legislative session, that's a problem. But if we have an absent staff and you're trying to run a board meeting, that's also a problem. We can do everything, just not all at once, and this would be a case of that.
I will say as well, just so the board is aware, this is a busy time for many board members, and those last 2 days, I don't know if Leanne felt like she got punched in the face, but I know she pulled a lot of extra meetings as well, as legislators are asking for feedback as it's kind of running up against the clock. And so it is a busy time. We're happy to do whatever the board votes on, but it's busy. So, okay, I've got on this motion, let me restate the motion, get us back on track. And then we are speaking to this motion. This is Member Earl's motion to move the March meeting to the 11th and 12th, and for April to remain on the second week of April. Member Earl, are you back to this motion? Let me.
But I think, I don't think there's a need to speak. I mean, I think those last 2 days, all of a sudden things get combined together and things get moved around quickly, and it's to be divided. I think board members might even be divided as much as staff trying to follow what's going, you know what I mean? Reading calendars and stuff. So I would recommend that we move this change.
Okay, Member Bogus.
Thank you. So I did not hear anyone speak to the benefit of moving April's meeting as opposed to keeping it on the first Thursday and Friday. I don't think I heard any reason that would mean we would need to move that one as well.
Member Earl did speak to it. Do you want to restate just to clarify? Hold on, there you go.
Yeah, what it ends up being, if we have March on the 8th and 9th, it is 3 weeks. It's a quick turnaround for staff. And then literally it's 5 weeks before we have our next meeting in May. So it would allow for a 4-week spread and then a 4-week again, so that we're back to a consistent pattern. So
What she's saying is she just saw you. She needs another week.
Come on now.
No, and that makes sense. It is a quick turnaround when we start having, I know our executive leadership team met a week after board meeting to set the agenda, and staff is trying to get that done quickly. So there are things that obviously happen way before this board meeting. Mm-hmm. And so the turnaround is quick. It's tight. It's doable, but it's tight. That's what we're saying.
So I think my larger question is it helpful? And I mean this respectfully, because none of our staff has actually addressed, do they need that extra week to get into April? Because as we go through the process, it's usually in May when we pick up again. So if it's a quick turnaround, that's one thing. But if the extra week preparing for May's meeting would be fruitful, that is also something where we get out of the ledge session, we come in, and then we start hitting things heavy in May. And that may prove fruitful as opposed to detrimental.
We're going to have Superintendent Cole, I see your light on. We'll get to you. We're going to have Superintendent respond.
And again, I haven't had time to talk with, and I'm going to, he's not making eye contact with me on purpose, but Deputy Jones has the most, there we go. At that time, we're working on the budget, and that would be the group that could speak the best to time. The other thing is you could not have a March board meeting because you had all those legislative meetings, and think about, will each of you do your due diligence to prepare? Do you know, I'm just throwing it out there. I have not talked to staff, so they may have tomatoes to throw right now, but the use of your time is extremely valuable. And as we were talking, what do you, I don't know. It's just another thing to think about. But Deputy Jones, would you speak please to the timing that you need and your team needs for creating the budget, and then perhaps Deputy Newey, any comments that you might have about the legislative tracker and the bill book, because those two items are what happens during those meetings.
Right, and we're talking from end of session to April to this meeting here for next year. Okay, who's going first? Scott?
That's fine. Deputy Superintendent of Operations, Scott Jones. Superintendent is spot on. In fact, Deborah Jacobson is recovering from having to set the budget. So if we walk it right, we don't know what we don't know, and we only know it after the legislative session ends on March. So this year it ended on March 6th. So if you just do the, walk that's only 3 weeks for her to take and compile all of the different movements to get to what we're presenting on Friday, tomorrow, in Finance Committee. And it is, and obviously we have other staff and things, but that's her principal role. I try to support her and do those types of things too, but she is really the centerpiece for that. And then also too, the USBE meeting was just this past Monday on March 30th. And, in addition to the accolades that Sam and Dale received from Board Member Earl, thank you, ma'am, for the tax presentation, they're putting together all of the estimates related to or coming out of the legislative session, even ahead of your board meeting, so that they can be presented to you, USBE, in a 2 to 3 week time frame. So sorry, sir. Yeah.
Can you clarify what USBE is?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the Utah Association of State Business Business Officials. So it's your BAs, it's your business administrators in your districts, and they gave Sam and Dale accolades too for how quickly they turned around the estimates. We have a really good relationship with them, but I think both Sam and Dale, I think Sam is sitting behind me, can attest to just how rigorous that process is. I mean, it's incredible all the time and effort these guys spend putting all of that together. And with that, Chair, we can segue over to Elise to talk to the policy aspects and legislation. So,
Elise, let's see. Go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Chair. Elise Nui, Deputy Superintendent of Policy. So during the month of March, we, in addition to preparing for a board meeting, we spend probably about 3 weeks straight working on the bill book and implementation. So going through every bill and deciding what LEAs need to know and what they need to do, what we need to do, what rules we need to draft. And that does take about 3 straight weeks. So it would be, if we had more time that would have been used for the board meeting to do that, we could probably get the bill book out earlier, those kinds of things.
We've got a question from Member Earl and then Vice Chair Wood. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick comment. We have board meeting in February and committee meetings. So whatever's in those meetings would now be 2 months down the road. And sometimes those things are continuations, sometimes, right? So I don't know what's going to be in those meetings in February of next year. I guess we could always say, that March meeting might be a lighter meeting, but to say that, I don't know if putting those off for 2 months is really a wise thing for the board to do. That's all I'm suggesting. And if we need to lighten up maybe on some of the things on that March meeting so that we're giving staff more time, that may be something to consider.
Yeah, the removal of the March meeting is not, that's what you're referring to. It was thrown out there. It's not on the table right now, but I personally prefer it because it's a time for us to get out super early. And then people are like, yeah, great meeting, right? So we get out early. So. Vice Chair Wood, go ahead.
Well, I had a question in reference to that. If we did not have a March official meeting, are there any things that statutorily we have to report on, like the budget? This would be a Deputy Superintendent Jones question. Is there anything statutorily that needs to be reported on each month that if we were not to have an official March meeting?
Scott, go ahead.
So, Chair, the answer to the Vice Chair Wood's question is the Budgetary Procedures Act does imply that agency heads or delegated the superintendent to me to provide a monthly budget report. It doesn't say that specifically. So what happened was the prior board put into your bylaws that we have to report to you monthly on the budget. So while it's not absolute, word for word in code, you, the board, have it in your bylaws that we're required to provide an attestation to the status of your funds monthly.
Follow up.
So if we were to have a legislative meeting on the 4th, you could do that monthly budget report during a legislative meeting briefly and not meet the next week in a long board meeting.
Is that a question or?
Yeah, it had a little question mark.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I've got Member Longacre.
Yeah, the most important meetings on this is during the legislative session, so Sybil can reserve the rooms. As long as they're okay and we're not changing those, let's just approve this and go on. And a lot of us on the board here now might not be here next year, and we're making decisions for the board next year. So I figure just those meetings are right. Let's let Sybil do what she needs to do, and we can address changing meetings another time.
Member Lear.
I think that was an excellent comment, and maybe I should have just deferred to that. I personally like the March meeting. It's cathartic, and it helps us digest what's been happening. And I also think it's an opportunity to ask the governor for vetoes. So I think it's an important meeting, and I wouldn't want to skip it.
Okay. We made it around the horn. We are back to this amendment here. This is an amendment to amend, and the amendment is to move the March meeting to the 11th and 12th, and for April to remain on the second week of April. Let's vote. Member Booth?
Yes.
That passes unanimously with 2 absent. Let's relook at, now we're on a motion to amend. And the motion is to move April, so it would be amended here. To move September and December board meetings to the first Thursday and Friday of the month, and move the March meeting to the 11th and 12th, and for April to remain on the second week of April, which I believe is the 8th and 9th. That's the motion. Let's go ahead and vote.
Member Booth, yes.
Thank you, Member Booth. That passes unanimously with 2 absent. This brings us to the underlying motion, and that is that the board approve the 2027 meeting schedule as amended. Let's vote.
Member Booth, yes.
Thank you, Member Booth. That passes unanimously with 2 absent. Okay. That concludes agenda item 9. Sybil, where are we? We're going to check. Let's just do this. We're going to put a 35-minute timer together. We're going to break for lunch, 35 minutes, so we can check and make sure that it's here. And we'll see you in 35 minutes. Thank you, board members. Board members, thank you and welcome back. Thank you, public, for your patience. And we are moving on a little bit backwards here as we jumped to agenda item 9, the general consent calendar, but we skipped the superintendent report. So we're going to go backwards to the agenda item 8. This is our superintendent's report, and we've got Dr. Hart as soon as she is ready.
Good afternoon. I like being right after lunch. I don't know. In elementary school, I don't know if it was just a thing at the elementary school that I went to, but after lunch, our teachers, all the way through 6th grade, read a book, read to us right after lunch. So we had our lunch, then we went outside, and then we came in, and it was my favorite time of the day. So for some, yeah, there were, now that I think about it, I can name some kids. Yeah, but the teacher would, and actually, it was a modular classroom, so they would open up the curtain and the teacher would, I now know it's so that the other teacher could have a longer lunch and then they traded back and forth. But we got to listen to a chapter in a book. And I don't know what made the teacher do this, but they would stop reading and go to a different book after a few chapters after you got hooked. So then you'd go to the library and check out the book and read it yourself. So anyway, it was my favorite time of the school day growing up. My favorite time of being a superintendent over the last month has been by far visiting schools. And I cannot tell you what I get, what I learn, the energy, just how amazing it is to see what different teachers are doing across the state in so many different ways. If board members, you have any hesitation whatsoever about visiting schools, please call me and we can do some school visits together. If you want to see some schools in different parts of the state, I know that many of you are have developed relationships inside your own area, but it is so important to also get to other parts of the state because it helps reframe. Here, what you're looking at is our Teachers of the Year school finalists, and minus one that is no longer teaching. I visited these classrooms. One, Sky Ridge High School, elementary school up in Vernal, Park City High, and the charter school on the campus of Utah State. Edith Bow, yeah, thank you. Oh no, where'd my picture go? It timed out. Anyway, to go from one day Vernal to the next day Edith Bowen, and then head down, to Lehigh. It's so interesting how schools are located in communities and they reflect communities. And it just strikes me how schools take advantage of that and build community that works for them, that works for the students, meeting the families where they're at, and realizing the dream of the community for their schools. Vernal has, up in Vernal, the school system, the superintendent up there has a vision for preschool through high school and then on to college. And it's a very connected system. And you go into the Chinese classroom at Sky Ridge, and there are students from a charter school a local middle school charter, that the students need that level of Chinese, and instead of having two separate programs, the teacher at Skyridge is teaching the students that come over from the charter school. And at Edith Bowen, the teachers very much want to create their own curriculum. Not their standards. Their standards are state standards, very clearly aligned, but the teaching is very much, the teacher makes a lot of instructional decisions about what the classroom looks like. There weren't even any desks in this classroom. Well, they weren't working at desks. There's a variety of seating. But then you go to another district, and they make sure to show me how their professional learning communities make sure that there's a guaranteed viable curriculum, and the way they interpret that is completely opposite the way another school interpreted it. They both schools, both sets of students learn the same standards and have very, very, very high expectations, but very different learning environments. And that's what makes, to me, that's what makes Utah special in the way we do education. It is not a one-size-fits-all, and it is reflected in even just the 4 classrooms that I was in. And the similarities, even between a high school government AP class and a 3rd grade science class, they both were doing inquiry. They both were expecting the students to do things. In Miss Andrus's class, they were using AI, actually, in a very controlled way. They were debating Mike Lee on voting rights and voting bills and consequences of that. I think Board Member Brinton also visited the class, and in 3rd grade they were learning about how to. It was math, but they were doing a word problem, but they were doing all the parts of the word problem. But there were more similarities than differences, because you could see in both classrooms how the students were expected to do the work. The teacher was facilitating, and there were it was very organized, but it was also very student directed. Students couldn't just sit there and opt out. That was not an option. It just simply wasn't an option. It really and truly, please allow me to go with you if you would like, if that helps. But please, let's get into the classrooms as much as possible and see the amazing things going on. The other things, and the more boring things now, just to update you on what's happening at the agency. We are spending quite a bit of time, all of our time, figuring out next steps for legislation, what we need to do to implement the various parts of the bills, what we need to add, subtract, multiply, actually, and that will unfold as board members know, that will unfold over the next few months. The other things that I've gotten to do is a presentation at USET about technology, and the message there was that technology is a tool. It does not run us, we run it. And the most important thing that is in the classroom is the teacher, and it is not the technology. But technology is a tool to use to advance learning. And then a message to celebrate the achievements of one of our charter schools, Beehive Academy, celebrated its 20th anniversary. And that was a wonderful celebration as well. And the message there was of having many different choices for education in a public education system. And as many of you know, Beehive is a STEM academy, and they focus on STEM. They had a student who is now a contributing member of society and a grown person who was very successful in the STEM curriculum and participated in robotics and things like that, and became a lawyer. And what that says to me is that students, we prepare them for an unknown future. So whatever their interests are, we can build a strong, firm foundation, and then that doesn't limit them in the future. It simply provides a foundation that is a firm foundation that they can launch from, not a loose, wiggly foundation. So the other thing that I wanted to mention was that I am participating. I am a member of the governor's pro-human AI initiative. And one of the things that we talk about is human first. What does it mean to be human first? And one thing I just wanted to bring to the board's attention, because I know AI is of interest, is there's two levels, two ways to think about AI. There's AI that we use as adults in education. And then there's AI that students use. And we should not talk about those the same. Those are two different. One of the classrooms I visited, the high school class up in Park City, the AP government, I mentioned, they were using an AI tool that is provided that has plenty of guardrails. It's called Magic School, for those of you that know, are familiar with the products. But then there's AI that the teachers will talk about that help them do their work on the back end, so that that frees up their time to spend on more impactful, instructional decision making and working with students. So know that when we talk about AI, let's not put it all in one bucket, because that doesn't help. For us in the agency, there's a third bucket, which is how can AI be used in our agency for efficiencies and for just making sure we don't miss things, automating routine tasks. And those are some of the things that the task force that I'm working on will be addressing. So there's lots of really cool things going on, doing visits, getting out there, listening to constituents and learning the districts, and also keeping the agency moving forward and implementing the will of the legislature and implementing the strategic plan. Final note, we are working still through our balanced scorecard. We put that on hold while we were in the legislative session. We now are picking that back up, and we have a couple of trainings, and then we will present to you the the balance scorecard for the agency, I believe in by the June meeting is what we have a goal for. Tomorrow, I will speak about USDB and the work being done there. Significant amounts of work, working on governance structure, working on communication, working on clarifying processes and procedures, the numbers, the counts that we need to report to you accurately and to the legislature accurately, making sure that keep moving forward on getting the budget right-sized and getting things fixed there. I do think that facilities will be an area that we need to circle back to and talk about in the future, but we'll address that tomorrow. So much going on. Please just continue to reach out when you have questions, and I can get you to the right place to get your questions answered. If you have any concerns or things that would help you make your decisions, make sure you're reaching out, and I'd be glad to help any time of day. You can text, but I won't. I put it on silent. I don't get them in the middle of the night. I wake up to them, so please know that while you can always text, you can't always get the answer because I've been trying to sleep a little bit more. And there's a reason I mention that, because next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I will be with my family on family time. So reach out, but know that response may be delayed. So hope that gives you a little bit of insight into what we're doing, and just let me help you get into those classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that report. I don't see any questions from board members, so thank you. We will move on to our next agenda item. This is our monthly budget report. So whenever Deputy Superintendent of Operations Scott Jones is ready, we will move in that direction.
Deputy Superintendent of Operations Scott Jones with the monthly budget report to the board and the public. So I attest that the Utah State Board of Education is financially solvent. We can meet all our known obligations and commitments. I don't have anything else to report. Just as a follow-up to a report I made on concerns with the course choice empowerment program a month or so ago, or during the session. So the legislature is going to allow, or does allow, us to use the administrative portion that we saved this fiscal year to meet the enrollment demands, but there will be some enrollment that will not be covered because there wasn't a supplemental beyond the authorized use of those funds for, or to cover the enrollment increases that we saw above the appropriated amount of $8,895,500. I believe that's the amount. So we've closed that up. The provider is well aware of that aspect. So we're within budget now as a result of the language in legislation to allow us to use the administrative portion of the funds to help cover the increased enrollment demand. Subject to any questions or concerns, that concludes this portion, and I can move at the direction of the chair to the discretionary report.
Seeing no lights, let's continue.
The discretionary funds report, I always do the same thing. I always orient you, the board members, and the public to the upper right-hand corner. Shows remaining balances within the different sources, state funds, federal mineral lease. Tomorrow in Finance Committee is a key takeaway to my update to the public and to the board, specific to your discretionary funds and your discretionary funds only. Is there some requests there will be, or that are in front of the Finance Committee, just, for situational awareness for board members outside of the Finance Committee or assigned to other committees and the public as well. The main body of the report that you're seeing here is the tracker, if you will, of all the approvals that the board has made for particular projects. Subject to any questions or concerns with any projects or remaining balances or the requests that we're going to see or hear tomorrow in Finance Committee. That concludes this portion of the monthly budget report and the agenda item as a whole. Chair Hymas.
Okay. I don't see any questions. You must have done a great job.
Thank you, sir. It's the Uncle Sam in me
Yeah.
that does this. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate
you.
it.
With that, board members, we will move to agenda item 11, our executive session. So I am seeking a motion that the board go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the following, any of the following: a person's character, competence, or health, pending or imminent litigation. And I think that's it. So moved. Second. Let's do a roll call vote here. Member Bogus is a yes. Member Booth, are you with us? We'll come back to Member Booth if he's online. Member Bollinger?
Yes.
Yes. Member Brenton? Yes. Member Davis? Is she with us? Okay. Member Earl? Is a yes. Member Green? Is a yes. Member Hall? Is a yes. Member Kelly?
Yes.
Is a yes. Member Carey? Is a yes. Member Longacre? Is a yes. Member Lear? Carol? Is yes. Member Reel? Is yes. And Member Wood?
Yes.
Is a yes. And I'm a yes. So we are moving whether our online people want it or not. We're going to closed. So let's take a few minutes and get set up. We'll go from there. Thank you. Okay. I'll see what can happen here. Okay, board members, thank you for your patience. Public, thank you for your patience. That was 3 hours in there, wasn't it? That was quite the conversation. Okay. I am seeking a motion that the board comes out of executive. So moved. It's seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. With that, let's turn to some agenda item 12. This is our action items, 12.1. And so we're going to turn time over to Member Bogus.
Thank you, sir. I move that the board approves the UPAC consent calendar.
Second.
The motion has been stated and seconded. Let's vote.
It was just the consent calendar.
Member Booth? Member Davis? That passes unanimously with 2 absent. Member Bogus.
Thank you, sir. I move that upon the approval of both parties in case number 24-2144, UPAC share the hearing recordings and exhibits with the board before the May board meeting.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Let's go ahead and vote. That passes 10 in favor, 1 abstention, 2 no votes, and 2 absent. The abstention coming from Member Bogus, the no votes coming from Member Reel and Member Lear. And I will no longer announce that 2 are absent. We're just going to go with 13. Member Bogus.
Thank you, sir. I move that the board approve the UPAC recommendation for case number 24-2170.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Let's go ahead and vote. That passes unanimously. Member Bogus.
Thank you, sir. I move that the board adopt the remand order with a 1-year suspension for case number 24-2196.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. Let's go ahead and vote.
Oh, I take exception to the notation of the motion. I apologize if I was not clear.
Good catch. Will you restate the motion?
I would be happy to. I move that the board adopt the remand order with a 1-year suspension for case number 24-2196.
Second. Oh, not necessary? Okay.
So,
Got it. Everybody starts having conversations. Buddy would. So I just started. Because they're not recommending.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome. That looks great. Thank you.
Okay. The voting is open. Okay, that passes 12 in favor, 1 opposed. That opposition coming from Member Lear. Back to you, Member Bogus.
Thank you, sir. I move that the board refer case number 25-2192 back to UPAC for further investigation.
Second.
The motion has been stated and seconded. Let's vote. That passes 12 in favor, 1 opposed. That coming from Member Reel. Member Bogus.
Thank you, sir. I move that the board approves the UPAC recommendation for case number 25-2303.
Second.
The motion has been stated and seconded. Let's go ahead and vote. That passes unanimously. Member Bogus.
Thank you, sir. I move that the board appoints Michael Martinez for a 2.5-year term as the representative of Juvenile Justice Services on the Utah Special Education Advisory Panel, or
Second.
USEP.
The motion has been stated and seconded. Thank you. Let's go ahead and, well, okay, yeah, let's vote. Thank you. You're right. That passes unanimously. Member Bogus.
Thank you, sir. I move that the board appoints the following individuals for a 2-year term on the USDB or Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind School Community Council: Mackenzie Van Velkenberg and Linnell Smith.
Second.
The motion has been stated and seconded. Let's go ahead and vote. That passes unanimously. Member Bogus.
I have no further business, sir.
Okay. That moves us to agenda item 13. This is a board chair's report. Just a couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention so that we can get thinking about it early. First off, the board leadership has been working to put together a board workshop, which is typically done in the summertime, trying to avoid as much as possible, but recognizing that any date that we choose is going to conflict with something. The date that we have put before you is July 9th and 10th. I believe that's a Thursday, Friday. And it is on the schedule that we approved today. We recognize that not all schedules will work with that, but we wanted to make you aware of that early on. And again, that's our board workshop. And then somebody brought up, we don't typically, go through too many of these, but also in July is the URSA conference. That's July 15th through the 17th. So that's the week following. So I just wanted to put those 2 dates in July. We don't have a formal board meeting. That's why we chose July 9th and 10th as a board workshop. But we recognize that we may not have all 15, although we hope to. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention, as you know, legislative session ended. It's a lot going on, and as Vice Chair Wood and I were meeting with PEA Chair Representative White, we had some discussion on funding, and funding has been a big topic this past year with the exercise of reducing by 5% and looking at what the board asks for each year. And one of the things that we thought as leadership would be helpful, and Representative White thought would be helpful as well, is when we make recommendations for funding, we would like board members to find where they're going to get that funding from. So in the past, usually leadership goes and sits before the PEA chair asking for anywhere between $300 to $500 million. And we typically just say, give, right? And then these past 2 years that we've been in leadership, well, 1 and 1. Molly helped out last time. So if it went wrong the first time, it was Molly's fault. The second time was Amanda's fault. But what we wanted to do was, instead of going forth and putting this request, which the PEA chairs have a hard time digesting because it's so massive, and then we come back here and we cut it in half, it's going to be much easier if we can say, look, we value what we're asking for, and we value it so much that here's where you can find the money. And so just keep that in mind. You'll want to work with staff members. You'll want to work with other board members. But this is going to help us move forward as a board with legitimate requests as we look at our budget over time. And I know that Superintendent Hart and her staff are looking at, even if they are to ask for another budget reduction, if they ask next year, we're going to be ready. I know Vice Chair Wood talked about legislative meetings, and do we need to extend those or look at that? And then she said, well, we spent 3 of them on this budget priority because we were kind of just behind. And so we're trying to get things ready. We're trying to anticipate, read the writing on the wall. And what we would like to see as leadership is we would like to see all of us come together. And instead of just saying, we need 200,000 for this or 50 million for that, we might say, we want 50 million from here, and we're willing to give it up from this area. So, well, yeah, I don't mind. Let me wrap up here, and it will be quick. But I'm hoping, again, as the legislature has told us that they want to give us a seat at the table, that we can respond to having that seat at the table instead of just saying, no, this is what we want, this is what we think we need. Because as we know, money just isn't, well, it's not just there, right? We have to find it somewhere. So that's my request to you. And we'll look at this. I know Chair Davis, I don't know if she's online listening. This funding requests start in Finance Committee. So Vice Chair Kelly, if you'll just keep that in mind as we start here and then move into these later months, just keep that in mind so that we have this exercise going forward. Go ahead, Carol. There you go. Almost.
Because you gave us a suggestion and a challenge, sort of, I wonder if one of our recommendations it can say, because it seems it's difficult to say we want to take from this to give to that, but couldn't we say we support no income tax cuts, and then maybe do some surveying and see how many of our constituents agree with us? So we provide them some information that not just, we don't want, we'd like to take it from increases in income tax, and we have these data to support that.
Right. I'm not saying we start with a zero budget every time, right? I think that's a great point. I'm not sure, I think any exercise is going to be good. I think the PEA would respect that we say, hey, we value these programs. We're hoping that we can use some of this money from here. But again, when we go before that committee and sit at that table and ask for $300 to $500 million worth of funding, and they're trying to figure out where to get it from as well, it's a challenge. So yes, I think we can, Carol. I appreciate that sentiment as well, or that thought process as well. Any other questions on that's? It's not much of a report, but I wanted to give you the information. With that, board members, let's move to agenda item 14. This is board member comments. So, Member Lear.
I was able to participate in the last couple of months with the UHSAA Board of Trustees in selecting a new executive director. Rob Cuff is retiring, and the new executive director is Ryan Bishop. And it was a extensive process. We had 2 rounds of interviews. We first interviewed 7 or 8 people, and then we interviewed 3. And it was a unanimous decision. It was very. I thought the questions were good, and we had really good people to choose from. So I think he'll do well. He's a current principal at Wasatch High School. He's worked for UHSAA for a few years, and then he's also been a very successful coach. So I think that the UHSAA is in a good situation with him.
And he was on that board as well, is that right? So he has,
No, he's not on the
Okay.
Board of Trustees right now.
I misunderstood that then. Thank you. Thank you for that report. Jenny, go ahead.
I have a joke. Sorry, I've been looking these up. This is math. Sorry, so it's relevant. You know what's odd? Every other number. All right, one more. How can you tell if a plant is a math plant? Because of its square roots. All right, that's it.
I love that because I love math jokes. Yeah. Yeah. Emily, go ahead.
I did just want to say thank you for those. I know Sybil she treats us so well. We are so spoiled, and the room always looks so festive, and board members that bring to add to that, it's appreciated. So Sybil, thank you for treating us so well.
Cole, go ahead.
I made a comment earlier in board meeting about board member Carey extending the finance committee, and Chair Hymas actually mentioned that that dialogue is good dialogue, and I just want to confirm that and make sure that public knows that that was in good fun, and that the dialogue and the debates that we have as a board, I think, are constructive and useful as we exchange ideas and make sure that we're looking at all elements of these issues. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Board Member Kelly. With that, I will seek a final motion. Member Carey, go ahead.
Yeah.
Better be a motion.
No, well,
Okay.
this is a quick comment, and that's just to say that, recently on an issue that, I've been working on really hard, I reached out to an organization that I didn't think would be supportive, and they weren't. But to Board Member Kelly's point, I think that outreach is always beneficial. I think the feedback and just the input and having a different set of eyes and a different perspective on it. And I'm grateful to the board for those different opinions as well. So thank you. And with that, I'll just make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.